in this channel, I like to talk about things that have personally happened to me, because maybe it's happened to you, and it's really nice to talk about things that are very relatable, and also to just share ideas, understand certain situations, and how we can kind of navigate through our 20s. Or if you're younger, I guess you can learn from this as well, and if you're a bit older, then obviously you can leave a comment and let me know what you think you would kind of do in certain situations, because then I can learn from you. But yesterday, I went to my friend's birthday. He had a party, and there was a lot of new people. I think 90% of the people there I didn't know. So yeah, it was quite cool. It was interesting to just talk to different people. But one of the things that I really took away from a conversation I was just randomly having, everyone loves to talk about work. So I've graduated last year or the year before, about a year and a half ago now. A lot of people that I meet, and I guess my friends, are all people who have graduated university, so we're coming out of that post education section and now onto the real world, the real life. And pretty much the biggest conversation starter is the first thing you kind of talk about is what do you do, and also just how you're finding work. And I guess it's fine, because it's quite interesting to hear what other people do and what they kind of like about their lives. But so this person was talking to me about their job, and it was really in depth. It seemed very corporate and very hands-on and intense, and that's fair enough. That's quite cool to understand. But then I just asked one simple question: what would you do if you didn't do that job? And they didn't really know how to reply to that. I think they took a bit of time. Eventually, they randomly spoke to me, and they told me something about gymnastics. And it's completely different to what they're currently doing. So they're doing tax management and all that stuff. So it's a very, very different world to gymnastics. Then I went more deeper into it, and I asked why gymnastics, and what made you interested in that. It's very different, right? And they were just telling me about their childhood and how they used to do gymnastics when they were a kid, and they were really good at it as well. And then growing up into school, they were still really active in it. But then as they kind of gotten older, they stopped pursuing gymnastics because of different influences. So whether that be parents, whether that be school wanting them to push them into a different direction, and just basically society as a whole, pushing them into the corporate world. I just think it's very interesting, because I think every single person I speak to has this mindset. They have this one thing or maybe a few things that they really deep down really love, that fuels them really, that's their passion. And unfortunately it's kind of sad, but as the years go by, as they grow older, that passion is lost. Not because they're not good at it, it's because they haven't invested the time into it, where they've basically gone with the society's flow of things into a completely different direction, and they think that this is what they need out of life. And it's difficult. It's difficult because for me, it was the same. I know a lot of people I speak to that are my age, whether that be their early 20s, mid-20s, they have this exact same mindset. It's because when you have something that you used to love to be involved with, you used to love doing, and you were good at it as well, because you put the time into it, that's why you became good at it. And suddenly when school, your family, society in general is pushing you in another way, where you have to work, for example, a 9 to 5, where you have to work in this particular segment because you will get X amount of money, and money makes you happy, whatever. They think that's the route they need to take. And it's quite sad, because I just see them they were telling me how much they really enjoyed gymnastics, but the same level of passion wasn't really there for their work. For their work, they're more telling me and how it's good, I'm doing this and that, I'm taking on loads of responsibility here and there. And it's just, and when I ask them exactly like, what is it about your job that really you like, they don't really have an answer. And I just find it interesting, but I want to let you know that the way I think about this situation is simply follow what you really like to do. And I completely understand if you're probably like, but I don't actually know what I like to do. I think it's really, use your early 20s, use this time to just try and understand yourself and the things that really make you tick. Because I've also spoken to people a lot older than me, and a lot of the times there's this thing called a midlife crisis. You probably heard of this term, but basically, to summarize it, when you're about 50 years old or whatever, you start to reflect and it hits you like, man, I've been in my career for 30 odd years, but like I don't actually enjoy it. And then they just start panicking and they just have this whole situation where it's just having a midlife crisis, and suddenly like they're like, oh my god, I've wasted this many years. I don't want that to happen to you, and I don't want it to happen to me either. So to avoid that, I think it's so crucial just to be aware. Just that's all you have to be, just to be aware. Like maybe you're currently in a job that you might feel like it's not reflecting on who you are as a person, and it doesn't make you feel like this is for me. In that situation, you have to take action. And taking action can be different. Like, for example, in terms of passions, it's obviously very complex. Because say you wanted to be a professional athlete, a professional football player, you have to start when you're very young, right? And if you take like a 10-year gap between the ages of, I don't know, let's say 14 and 24, and you want to go back into it, unfortunately, there are certain situations where like stuff like that is not necessarily possible. I don't want to ever say it's not possible, but I want to say it's very difficult, just because, you have to be training. That's a very extreme circumstances. So like you have to be training so much just to become a football player. That's not stopping you from becoming a football coach or owning your own football team. Like there's so many options within that passion of football to be in there. That's just one thing I want to say. But yeah, I just want to say, just keep it in mind. Like understand what really makes you tick. And something that's helped me with this is going back to your childhood. Just remember the things that you really loved to do when you were a kid. For me, it was genuinely just making videos. Like I've always loved it, and that's when I realized like, man, like I love talking to a camera, but I know now there's people watching, and so thank you for that, by the way. And especially recently, thank you for, we just hit 500 subscribers, and that's crazy because I've only had this channel for 5 months. And I've never ever experienced anything like building a community of people that, number one, likes to hear the kind of content I make and interact. So I'm very grateful. So thank you for that. But I just want to let you know that whatever it is that you really love to do, just don't ever give it up, especially during these years. I'm trying to balance a full-time job and also make content. It's doable. Like it's difficult because like there's a big trade-off. Like you can't actually do the things that you want to do all the time, because a lot of your time, as soon as I come back from work, I have to work on my videos. I'm trying to make as much content as I can for you, but then also I've got my other channel that I'm trying to brainstorm ideas, just because I enjoy it. Like it doesn't feel like work to me. But what I'm trying to say is, like, whatever situation you're in, try and allocate a few hours maybe to put it into something that you really, really love to do. I promise you, you will thank yourself for this, because you put in the hard work. You put in the time, especially when there are moments where, when you have a limited amount of hours, you allocated that time effectively, and you're proud of the hard work you put in. And I want you to just continue doing that, because it's something that's important. Because you should never have, I just never want you to have a midlife crisis, because that sounds awful. And I know people might be thinking, listen, that's like 25 years away, 26 years away from me, but still, things can happen in a blink of eye. So make sure that you focus on what you really want to focus on. Follow your dreams, follow your passions, and don't care what other people think. Just get on, just do the work. Anyway, good luck.